Hello, my name is Tim Anderson, and among other things I work with the English Bridge Union on membership development.
Bridge, as most will be aware, has become a game played largely, and I realise not exclusively, by an older generation, causing understandable anxiety about its future. I'm going to talk briefly about what the EBU has been doing in an attempt to address the problem of declining numbers in our member clubs, and how Bridge itself is changing as part of this process. Then I will take a quick look at the impact of pandemic-enforced lockdown on our clubs, the acceleration in online bridge and technology adoption, and a few hopeful signs for the future.
I will tell you a little about my own bridge story, not because it is exceptional, but because it's not an unusual one for someone of my generation. I learnt bridge at home. I remember having to spread my hand out on the sofa in order to sort it into suits. My family must have been exceptionally patient. But I picked up the game quickly. My grandmother played because everybody did. My father played, perhaps especially because he'd had a spell in the army where bridge was popular. My brother played, so did my sister. I enjoyed it, and I played a lot at university, rubber bridge with friends, probably to excess. It was only when I started work and found rubber bridge a bit harder to organise that I started playing with a friend at a duplicate bridge club, first at Sevenoaks in Kent, then when I worked in London occasionally at the Young Chelsea Bridge Club. When I moved to Nottingham in the 80s, I presumed that there would be a university bridge club, and there was, and I joined it, and for good measure Nottingham Bridge Club as well. Then my life got busier with marriage and children, and bridge took a bit of a back seat for me. It must have been around 2005 that I thought it would be fun to play again, and I contacted my local bridge club at the time, West Bridgeford. This is precisely when I became personally aware of the demographic issues facing our game, because the person I spoke to after inquiring about my age said, you were young then." Well, it's always nice to be thought young, but in reality I was middle-aged, but nevertheless among the youngest at the club. And I got used to having to say, no, I can't attend this or that event or meeting because, well, I still work. Since that time I've played regularly, including enjoying some games in the USA when they're on business, and I've observed this same issue becoming more pronounced everywhere. The EBU has of course been conscious of this in a general sense for many years, but it was not until 2014 or thereabouts that a board member took up the challenge of taking some action, having discovered that the average age of our membership was well over 70. If nothing is done, he said, many of our clubs will simply cease to exist over the next 10 or 15 years. In 2015, the EBU agreed to work on a pilot project with one of its most active county associations, Yorkshire. The project got fully underway in 2017. A development officer was appointed, who contacted every bridge club in the county. The message was a simple one. If you are not actively teaching and recruiting new members, your club will decline. Clubs were encouraged to set up bridge teaching if it was not already in place, and to promote bridge in their community, with both financial and practical assistance, with things like creating leaflets or placing ads on Facebook. So what did we learn? Well, in brief, it works, but there are some caveats. If a bridge club sets up bridge teaching and promotes it in its community, there are usually plenty of people who sign up, usually in an older age range, but still 10 years or more younger than the average age of our members. What then are the caveats? Several things. It works better in some areas than others. It requires a lot of work on the part of the bridge club. And perhaps the biggest problem, taking someone new to bridge all the way to the point where they can play in a standard club session, and that takes at least 2 to 3 years. And quite often people get stuck at what we call the gentle duplicate stage. They play regularly, they enjoy it, but not at the pace or standard of normal club sessions. And they either become a kind of club within a club and never integrate, or they may drift away. In such a case, a small club may have put in huge effort, successfully brought new people into bridge, but still have declining numbers at its main session. One of our problems is that bridge sessions have a minimum number to be viable. 6 tables is great. 4.5 tables is tiresome. 3.5 tables is so bad that members may look for somewhere else to play and the session then closes. The EBU rolled out the project more widely, though not all regions have been as successful as our pilot. Nevertheless, I believe we have communicated to our clubs the necessity for teaching and marketing bridge in order to sustain a bright future. If we look at our numbers overall, until March 2020 we were keeping more or less level. In other words, the influx of new members has been sufficient to make up for those leaving, not only those who sadly die, but also those whose health makes it difficult to continue playing. One of our key learnings is that for a club to grow, it is not only a matter of bringing in new members. In many cases, the club itself has to change in order to be a welcoming and attractive destination for newcomers. Friendliness is not just nice to have, it is essential for survival. This means steering a careful path, ensuring that bridge is played according to the rules on the one hand, and on the other, having tact and common sense when adjudicating issues involving inexperienced players. A hesitation from an experienced player may give unauthorized information to their partner, but a novice hesitates because they are desperately trying to remember what they should do next. They usually score badly. They need encouragement, not to be told off for slow play or an unguarded remark. The manner of directing is critical. I love to hear of a club where the novices prefer to be on the table near the director because they can get help more easily. That is what the director is for, to help and not to punish. Bridge is changing. The fact is that new players learning bridge, perhaps as they approach or enter retirement, are less likely to enjoy congresses and competitions, and more likely to enjoy just meeting new people and participating in an engaging and thought-provoking game. We have learned that as the English Bridge Union we exist for all our members, irrespective of bridge ability, and that our goal is to help our clubs put on friendly and enjoyable sessions for players of every standard. The most effective way to attract new members is word of mouth, and that happens when people learn bridge and enjoy it so much that they tell their friends. The future of bridge, then, is an inclusive game, and that perhaps is not an anomaly, but more of a return to what it used to be, when the whole world could play, but mostly not very well. There is something else that is changing though, and that is technology. In March 2020, our government declared that the rising numbers of COVID-19 infections made lockdown a necessity, and all our clubs closed. I have just looked at the numbers, and in April 2020, the number of bridge sessions played by our members declined by 83% compared to April 2019. Even that 17% was an achievement, with the EBU putting on sessions for all using Bridge Base Online, or BBO. 67% of the sessions that were played in April 2020 were run directly by the EBU, up from just 2% a year earlier. We learned fast though. Online bridge used to aim specifically at people not playing at clubs, maybe because there was no club near them, or because they wanted to play at any time of day. Suddenly, almost the opposite was true. Clubs wanted to play online as clubs, because their normal meeting place was unavailable. The main online platforms at the time were not set up for this. Personally, I was so convinced of the need that I brushed up on my programming abilities and started work adapting a bridge game for Windows that I had started but never finished years before. The outcome was pointedly called Your Bridge Club Online, and my own club in Winchester, along with several others, now play on the platform several times a week. Others stepped up ahead of me though. The EBU arranged with BBO to enable club sessions. The long-standing UK online platform Bridge Club Live added a facility for clubs, and another new platform called Real Bridge also came online with club-friendly features and a modest cost. EBU clubs have performed an amazing task during lockdown. Looking again at the number of sessions in April 2021 was 81% of what it was in April 2019, an increase of 361% from April 2020. That represents an extraordinary effort from clubs to get their members playing, sometimes spending hours on the phone explaining the ins and outs of registration and clicking or tapping to get a game working in a web browser. Not all our members play online, but those who do are playing more bridge now than they did before the lockdown. From next month, Many of our clubs will tentatively start resuming face-to-face bridge, all going well. The impact of technology, though, is profound and has greatly accelerated both the evolution of the platforms and the willingness of people to play online. At this point, none of us knows exactly what the bridge world will look like, say, a year from now, but we are quite sure it will not look the same as before the pandemic. We think that many clubs will run both online and face-to-face sessions, or multi-section events where some play face-to-face and others online. There are things we enjoy about the online experience. No revokes are possible. There is no need to venture out on a cold, dark winter night. We can look at the hands we have played and see the play card by card. We can join our regular club session, even if we happen to be physically distant. We also know that some of our clubs will not be able to resume at all. During the lockdown, not every club was able to play online, and some bigger clubs have attracted new members from those unable to play. What I want to focus on, though, are the possibilities for bridge teaching. Early on in the pandemic, bridge classes and gentle play tended to get forgotten in the scramble to get something going online. At our own club, we thought that was not good enough, and we started using our platform for teaching and supervised play. We run alternate sessions. One week we have novices play aboard with an experienced player kibitzing and able to take back bids and plays if needed. Then, after the board is completed, the table discusses it for as long as is needed. There is audio and video at each table. Then, on another week, we run a gentle duplicate session with about 12 boards and a slower than normal pace of play. A director is available to be called when needed. Before and after play, we have a plenary session where we might talk about some general point. Someone said last week, please explain the scoring. Or after the session, discuss a particular hand. What has been particularly interesting is that several pairs at our club have already made the transition from the special supervised sessions to play in the general club session. Somehow they found it easier to do online than they do with face-to-face bridge. Perhaps it is less intimidating. They don't have to come into a new environment. The person who runs our supervised play expressed some anxiety about our proposed return to face-to-face bridge, because he said that actually the online experience is better in this respect. This is just one club's experience, but the point is that lockdown, tragic in lots of ways though it is, has not been all negative, but has opened up new approaches that we can hang on to. Teaching bridge is a special privilege, if only because you see at first hand how much enjoyment people get from playing, in all its aspects, both social and intellectual. That is a great gift to give, and the enthusiasm of novices is what convinces me that the game will continue to thrive, despite all the challenges that we face.